said that was rolled up into 6500.
That's right.
Air 6500-1 is your basically IAMD control, coordination, battle management system, whereas 6502 was your effector.
That's right.
So a layered air defence system. As we approach the most uncertain strategic times, as we see Russia using missiles and drones, we see what happened against Israel from Iran, etc., we're now down to a system that in time will help us coordinate one layer, which is NASAMS, with, 2 batteries? So as we approach these times, this has actually degraded the layered approach that an integrated air and missile defence system is supposed to have. Is that the outcome we're looking at?
No, Senator, Senator, I don't think that's right. I might talk through the process from where the DSR made the observation that we needed to rebuild the IIP to deliver the strategy of denial that's at the cornerstone of defence planning. As part of the process over the course of the last year, led by the Vice Chief, we've gone through all of our investment plans to look at where the priorities are. And integrated air and missile defence remains one of those priorities, and it's reflected in the public IIP with investment in the order of $14 to $18 billion.
But my point, Mr. Hamilton, though, is that if we're rolling that funding up into 6,500, then we're investing it into a control system, but we're actually reducing the effectors, which are the things we want to control, which means we're actually reducing our defensive capability.
So, Senator, let me finish, and then we can take it from there. As part of that process, we defined the priorities for investments, and it was a tough prioritisation process for integrated air and missile defence. In addition to that layered system that we heard evidence about this morning, that $14 to $18 billion is for a range of systems, but the priority in this IIP is for that architecture, for the brains of the system that you've been referring to. The government has been very clear that we will come back when technology is ready and have a look at the next phase of acquisition, which will include acquisition of the active missile defence systems. So there is a clear prioritisation set out in the public documents that provides that pathway, and that's in addition to the existing layered defence system, which includes our maritime assets, our air assets, the NASAMS system, and the range of other investments across the Defence Investment Program.
So my only concern, Mr. Hamilton, with that comment is you said when the technology is ready, as we have seen in the defence of Israel, the technology is ready, and if we are actually reacting to what DSR 23 and DSU 2020 says and what the commander of Indo-PACOM says, by 2028 we may need something for that brains, as you call it, to do. And at this stage, there's been a number of papers, and particularly if we are looking at the Hobart class going into an upgrade program, and if we accept that to have one ship on station we need 3, we're going to be trying to maintain one ship on station with only 2 vessels, which means we've got a very thin surface-based supply of sensing and effectors, and then 2 batteries of NASAMS. So, Sarah Lee would be distraught. There is no layer upon layer here. We are just talking about a very gutted IAMD, which leaves Australia very vulnerable.
So, Senator, I might just add to that. We have to be careful about revealing our capabilities and classifications, but one of the reasons why the Chief of Air Force has given good testimony here earlier about the layered effect. There are weapon systems, there are sensors across all of the domains that contribute to integrated air and missile defence. In terms of that one particular, which are in service, That one particular component that we're referring to here, we looked at some of those reference systems that are out there which are approaching at the end of their life of type. Their availability, obviously, in the current geostrategic environment is very, very limited. There are new solution sets that are very close to high levels of, or increasing levels of technological readiness levels, which will utilise pre-existing or inventory stock inside our pre-existing and our expanded strategic material reserves. What we really need to do is we need to get that reference architecture for that integration to make a more effective joint and integrated system that is also better value for money.
And I think that goes to a broader point. And if I can say two things, I think the first is that I've indicated already there are some limitations in what can be said, and that necessarily constrains a complete discussion about the nature of the IAP. The second is a related idea, which is that the IAP has been rebuilt and needs to be seen as a whole. There is additional funding of more than $50 billion alongside the reprioritisations that we are talking about, and the nature of those reprioritisations does involve the redirection of funding from some projects to higher priority projects, and that is because they are intended to build a more integrated ADF. And so these projects link together. It is difficult to consider just one element in the way that, as Major General Rawlings has just explained to you. It does need to be considered as a whole, and there are some constraints on being able to discuss very individualised elements of that whole in this
Minister,
forum.
I accept that, and I'll finish with this point before I hand back to Senator Birmingham.
Thanks, Senator.
My only comment would be that it's perhaps reprioritised to higher profile projects, because my concern is most of the funding that's been announced is going to capability which will not be delivered till after 2030, and my key focus at the moment is on what do the four capability managers have available to them to offer up military response options to government before 2030. Hence the focus on the force in being and what we can deliver and use, as opposed to what may come down the track. My second comment, Secretary, for you is in terms of what can be disclosed. I'm somewhat disappointed to see that we have moved away in things like the web presence of the Defence Strategic Review from PDF copies of information which can be downloaded, searched and analysed to, I think they're called online flipping books. And they are flipping books because you can't actually mark them up, search them, analyse them, which actually reduces transparency. So I'd encourage Defence to move away from that practice and go back to the tried and true PDF, which opens you up to a bit more scrutiny. Thanks, Senator Birmingham.